All right, welcome back. So now we have the half adder here, which will add our two A and B inputs and give the output sum in binary notation. And we can see for our two outputs, we have our high bit and our low bit, also known as our sum bit and our carry bit. So let's start with our half bit output first. Let's see. So we can see that this is only on when both of our inputs are on, which would signify an AND gate. So let's start with that here. And yep, that works there. And then we have our low bit, which is only on when only one of our inputs is on, which would signify an exclusive OR gate. So let's get that in here as well. And there we go. Simple enough. When either one is on, the output is 1. And then when both of them are on, the output is 2 in binary. So let's check. So few possible components, but it's possible to solve with a lower total of NAND gates. Let's try to figure that out here. And yep, okay, I see it right here. These two NAND gates serve the same purpose. So we could feed the input of this inverter with the output of this NAND gate. And let's just get rid of that here. And I'm just going to organize this a little bit in case we need to find the total number of NAND gates from a half adder in a new level. That seems organized enough. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Moving on. Now our full adder. So now we're making a full adder. So we can use our two AND gates to take a carry from our previous addition into consideration, as seen by here. So now we've got our three inputs. Just get our half adders here. And so let's look at the table here. This is one when B and C are on, when A and B are on, or when all of them are on. So let's see here. So when A and B are on, the high bit will be high, but also when B and C are on. It looks like that's another case here. So this or this will qualify there. And then the low bit is only on when, let's see, when C is on, when B is on, when A is on, and then when all three are on. And yeah, so it looks like all we'll need here is an OR gate for these two high bit conditions. And there we go. So when any one of these are on, it'll have an output of 1. When two of these are on, and it's an output of 2. And then when all three are on, it's an output of 3 in binary. Now I'm sure there's going to be ways to simplify it, and yes, use as few as possible components, but possible to solve with a lower total of NAND gates. So let's try to figure this out here. And I think I know what it's going to be. I think this OR gate here, yep. So it's another situation of bypassing two inverters in order to, oh God, this is this is a bit of a nightmare here. But essentially all we want to do is take the third output of this NAND gate and connect it directly to this NAND gate here. Oh, and delete that. delete that. So that's, oh no. Oh no. Oh, I messed it up here. I think it's just C. Yes. Okay, good. So that's simplified here, and then we're going to bypass this one here as well and remove these inverters. Oh, here and here. And let's just try to simplify how this all looks. This is a bit of a mess, which is why typically when these circuits are actually made, they're usually built with into these little blocks and sort of a family of components. I forget the exact term. Yeah, definitely learned it in one of my classes. But yeah, it's just a matter of just putting the blocks together as we did the first time around, and um, just making those components uh, as fast and efficient as possible, unless you wanted to build like a whole block of an adder here, in which case, yeah, you would simplify it as much as possible. But if you're dealing with just your whole logic gates, it would typically be a whole lot easier just to build it with the logic gates and not simplifying it down, removing the NAND gates, the unnecessary NAND gates, and moving forward from there. So I believe that's as simple as it can go, and yes. So with our addition of our carry bit, we can sort of stack those adders that we made last time together, and that's what we've got here. We've got a multi-bit adder that we're looking to make to give a output based on adding two 2-bit numbers together with our carry. So if you think of, if you were to solve this by hand, adding two 2-bit binary numbers together, you would have your first number, second number, and then when you're adding, let's say, a 1 and a 1 together, you carry the 1, which then gets added again. And it's a similar case here, where, for instance, let's go A0 here, B0 here. And you're carrying a 1. If you're carrying the 1, that gets carried into the second adder here. And then B1, A1. So this is our high bit. And then we've got, let's see, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. Oh, I messed it up here. I'm carrying the low bit when I mean to be carrying the high bit here. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. Yeah, and I think that's it right there. The significant bit, S1, and then our carry bit. And our test input is 2 plus 2 plus 1, which is 5. And yes, so this bit here is 2 to the, so we've got 2 to the 0 here, which is 1 to the 2, but this is 0. So it's 0, and then 2 to the 2, which is 4. So 4 plus 0 plus 1, that's 5 right there. I think they're going to say, oh, no, it's optimal. And yeah, they're explaining how we can scale this up to however many bits that we'll want for our situation. And so we can expect to be using a 16-bit adder next time. Let's see. Yes. So now working with our 16-bit numbers, and we're building an increment component that adds 1 to the 16-bit number. And they've simplified it for us, thankfully. Kind of curious to see what the, oh no, they don't give us an option to see all the individual adders there. That would have been neat. Okay, that's easy enough here. So we're adding 1 to a 16-bit number, and we're ignoring the carry if the result is larger than 16 bits. So we've got our 1. So we've got our hexadecimal. Hexadecimal is adding 5 more numbers to our base 10 system, so we can write like 16 as a single character instead of, no, 15. So it's adding, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, yeah, 6 more. So we can write 15 as a single character instead of using 2. And you can see that leads up to these first 4 bits being filled in when we have F, and then so on and so forth. And then if it's greater than 16 bits, okay, let's just start with incrementing it first. I think a way we can do that is, yeah, so we have a 0 output here, which leads to a 1, which adds to this number here. And if it's larger than 16 bits, we ignore the carry. Under what situation would this be bigger than 16 bits? Oh yeah, if it was F, 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 F. And so it would be larger than 16 bits, so we ignore that carry. And that should work, yes. Simplest possible solution. Let's get going to subtraction. So this is a very interesting concept in digital electronics, how we can subtract 2 numbers using addition. So what we do here, instead of building with like a subtractor circuit, which technically we're building here, but we're using adders for it, we can see, for instance, if I go to B here and I fill it up, we actually have a negative number here when all of this is filled. And this is because this leftmost bit is a signed bit, and that signifies whether a binary number is seen as negative or positive. If this, I'll call it the most significant bit because that's what it's called, or signed bit is 1, then it's negative, and if it's 0, it's positive. So if I change this F to an E, oh no, if I change this to an E, F, 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 oh man, what am I messing up here? Yeah, yeah, just 3 Fs here. That is positive because the signed bit is 0. So what we'll need to do is take a lesson from the previous level in which we incremented the number. First thing we'll need to do to make this, for instance, a negative number is, you can see if I just invert those values, we get the negative of the same thing. So F000 is negative 4096, but then 0 FFF is 4095. So we won't be able to just invert it. We'll need to invert it and then add 1 in order to, for instance, oh, no, FFF0. F000. We'll need to add 1 to bring this down to negative 4095 to represent this value here. So we'll first start by inverting this 16-bit number, and we won't even need the second adder here. We invert it, and then we increment it by 1, and that gives the negative value of whatever number this is. So let's say we have 1, that's the same as FFF. Yes, so we have a negative 1 there. And 2 is FFFE, negative 2. And so yeah, and we'll just add this here. We don't need to worry about our carry because we're not carrying anything. We have our A, and we should have a subtractor circuit here. Just make this all nice and neat. I don't really think it matters much. but I like having things in nice, neat rows if I can help it. And let's just test it with some of these. Oh, yeah, I didn't even read this over here. Yeah, they were talking about 2's complement representation. So let's check here. Simplest possible solutions. Okay, so now we've got 2 more levels in our arithmetic section, equal to 0 and less than 0. Okay, let's see. Building a component that indicates if the number is 0. Okay, interesting. Should output 1 and only 1 if all bits in the input are 0. So I would imagine if all bits are 0, if any one of these are 1, I'm messing around with an exclusive OR gate here. If my instinct is this would be the exact opposite of what an exclusive OR gate would do. So if we have 2 exclusive OR gates here, if any one of these becomes a 1, it's 0. But if all of them are on, then this would be 0. Instead of OR exclusive OR, I think it would just be OR gates. Let's take this OR gate here. So if any of these, I'll add one more to build a 4 input OR gate here. If any of these are 1, then the output will be 1. And if any combination of these are 1, the output will be 1 as well. It's only when all of them are off that's 0. And if it's 0, then we want the output to be 1. There we go. And I think that's right. Yes. This is optimal. Is it? I'm suspecting that they might be saying that after a certain point. I want to see if there's any possible way we can improve the efficiency here. Yeah, there's no stacked inverters. I think, yeah, this is as simple as we can make it. So let's move on to our less than 0. Now design a component that indicates if a 16-bit number is negative. Okay, this should be pretty easy. We talked about signed bits before, where this most significant bit determines if a number is negative, which means, so we have a splitter here, which will allow us to access all of these bits, which means I think we only really need to connect it here. So if it's positive, we have no output to 0. I mean, no positive output. But then if it is negative, yeah, and I think that's it. Okay, 0 components used is simple. Yeah, that works. So that is it for our arithmetics.